Hey there everybody, this is Patrick from Lost in Games, and today we are talking about space. So I want to be very careful when I talk this video through to explain the box you're seeing. So Space comes in a much smaller box, and that is the core game. And then there are expansions out there. There's multiple expansions. There's a couple of smaller box add-ons that add on to the game, give you some new cards. One of them gives you a campaign. And then there is this, was an add-on as well, the command station. And this is basically a giant box to put all of your space-based stuff in it. So when I show you this game, I don't want you watching the game, looking and seeing it and thinking, oh, I'm maybe getting this in the core game. I want to be very clear. The core game has 4 player boards, so 4 players can play. This game this particular box adds to that, giving you a couple of extra, gives you a bunch of extra cards, and then because the cards are a very unique size, this box set actually gives you sleeves to put the cards in. So if you purchase the space-based core game, it's not going to come with sleeves. It's only going to come with 4 player boards, okay? Obviously, we liked this game enough that we felt it was worth investing in the command station to store all of the expansions and get the card sleeves. Whether you choose to do that or not, it's up to you. But before we talk any more about that, I am going to give you a brief overview of the game, and then I will come back and give you my final thoughts. Okay, we have set up the game, and I'm going to give you a brief overview of the play area and then go through a couple of rounds and show you what the gameplay is like. There are plenty of videos out there that will give you an A to Z on how to play this game, and my job here is just to give you enough of a taste to decide whether this is a game for you or not. So the first thing I'm going to point you to here is your game mat. So your game board there has a couple of things. First, it has your fleet of ships, and they have a number up in the corner that represents number 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 12. That is your starting space fleet, okay? At the bottom of your game board, you have 3 tracks. The first track, the yellow track, is the credits that you have that particular round. This is a constantly fluctuating amount. The second track is your monthly income. This is what your base credits are at. So right now, since we are at 0, we start off with 0 credits. And then third at the bottom is in blue, that is your power, or essentially your victory point tracker. So the goal of the game, of course, is to get the most victory points. The end game is triggered once 40 points are crossed at the very end, and then you finish that round, and then you add up all the victory points that everybody has, and whoever has the most at that point is the winner. This game is a tableau, point salad-y type roll your luck kind of game, but it is a great game because there's something to do on every round, not just when it's your turn. You get the biggest benefits and bonuses and decisions when it is on your turn, but based on how you build your space fleet, you will find that when other players are rolling their dice, it gives you bonuses and benefits as well as the game goes on. So it's a very highly engaging game. It's not complicated at all, but in its quote-unquote simplicity, it's one of those games that to do it well, you really do have to be thinking and planning and strategizing and building the best tableau engine that you can in order to get the most points, to make the most money, to buy the best ships, to get the most victory points, to win the game. So it literally is a space-based race to the finish line, okay? So now let's talk a little bit about the other areas of the board. So this is kind of your space-based market. There are 3 levels of ships that you can see here. These are the cheapest ships, these are more expensive, and these are even more expensive yet. Over here we have these energy cubes, which are used for special cards. We'll talk about them in a minute. And then right here you have, these are space-based colonies. that you can purchase that will give you a bunch of victory points, but they also limit your ability to take actions as the game goes on too. So they're not something you want to invest in early in the game. You want to invest in the end of the game when you're racing towards the finish line. Okay? So let's talk a little bit about the space base, how a turn works. And we'll start with the early turns, and then we'll make our way through and show you what happens as the game goes on well. Because the earlier turns are definitely more, you roll the dice, do your thing, and then wait for your turn to come again. But very quickly, by taking the right actions, you will be gaining resources and gaining points and gaining income every single turn if you invest and use your space fleet in the best possible way. Okay, so let's take a look at a turn. A turn is very simple. It has 4 steps. The first thing you're going to do is you are going to roll your dice. And when you roll the dice, you're going to get a result. In this case, we have a 10. So you can either have a 6 and a 4, or you can have a 10, and you get to pick how you want to allocate it. And what you pick is based on your particular fleet. So let's take a look at your fleet here. If you look at your fleet, you see you have blue zones underneath your ships and then kind of an upside down red zone. If you have a card sitting on your board, you only look at the blue zone. So in this particular case, I could assign this dice there, a 6 because it ties to the number 6, and a 4 because it ties to the number 4. And I will get the benefits that are listed right there. In this case, 1 credit, 2 credits. So I'll move my credit tracker ahead and I have 2 credits. I could have instead spent a 10. And if I went to the 10, instead it would have increased my income by 1. Okay, and so those are the types of decisions you'll be making in the game as you roll the dice, and as other people roll the dice, how to allocate the dice that have been rolled. What makes the most sense based on the battle plan that you are conducting for world, or I guess galactic domination of corporate space. So in this particular case, I'm going to go with a 6 and a 4. And I am going to increase my credits by 2. Then what I do is I go and I have the option to purchase a card. So again, there's 3 levels of cards. These are the cheapest, these are the medium, these are the expensive ones. The cost of the card is in the corner right here, and you can see that it costs 2 or 5 or 4. I only have 2, so I'm basically limited to this card or this card. So what do some of these symbols mean? So if you look there on the other top corner, there is a number. This is the number of the card you're going to replace. So for example, if I pick up this one, this particular card has a 12. If I purchase this for 2, I'm going to drop this back down because I just spent the 2, and I am going to put this on my track. Okay? And then I'm going to take this card and turn it upside down, and I am going to slide it under. So that now the red is showing, and the red is the right side up. Okay? And then I will replace that ship with a new ship. Now, what does this mean? This means that on another player's turn, so the blue zones are the rewards you get on your turn. The red ones are the rewards you get when somebody else rolls them. So if somebody else rolls a 12, I'm going to get 5 credits. Right? So you can see where this is going. You're going to start upgrading your ships, and your other ships become investments. So that when you roll the dice on your turn, you are getting the values that are on the blue, and when another player rolls the dice on their turn, they roll 2 5s. They can either get 5 and a 5, or they can get a 10, right? But because they have no red cards, they have no investments here, they wouldn't get anything, right? But if this guy had rolled a 12, all of a sudden, I get the 5 credits that are there. So as time is going to go on, you are going to be replacing cards and by numbers, right? And I'll just put this here. I'm going to speed up our time frame, our timeline a little, just to show you what's happening. And so as you play through the game, your primary fleet is going to get stronger and start giving you better rewards, but also you're going to be building up these investments, which means when other people roll the dice, now anytime you can make a 7 or an 8, you're going to make some money. So on that other person's turn, they go out there and we'll just say they roll an 8. Well, 2 4s, you can't do anything on that other person's turn, but an 8, you get 2 credits. Right? So it's a way, this is the point salad nature of the game, but it also becomes very important in the game to make sure that you're investing smartly. So this first one I did really wasn't that smart of an investment. It seems like it because this is worth 5 credits, but hey, how often do you roll a 12? Not very often, right? So you'll find in the game that the ships on the edges are the more powerful, bring you the best rewards. However, you don't roll them as often, right? And the ones in the middle, they roll, you get them more often, but they're just not quite as powerful as the ones in the end. So this is going to go on. One key thing that always seems to trip us up, we always seem to forget this, is the income. So as you know, there are rolls that you're going to get which are going to increase your income. While you're on your turn and you're making your way around the table, you're probably going to be making all kinds of credits as time goes on. The key is every turn you want to spend those credits, all of them, because at the end of the turn, your credits drop all the way down to your income because of your expenses or whatever. So increasing your credits is valuable to get strong cards, but you also have to be thinking about increasing this, because every time you're going to drop way low, or do I increase this so that when I do get up here I only drop part way down and then I need value. And so you start kind of these cascading effects is what you're aiming for when you're building your engine. Now this is going to get quite complicated as time goes on. You're going to have a lot of cards out there that have values like that, and you're going to have, where's another good example here. As time goes on that 5, this one may also come here like that, and pretty sure you have that. And if you see this little rocket symbol, that's a victory point symbol. So for example, in this case, when I put this 7 here, every time I roll a 7, I get 4 victory points. It's a pretty good roll, right? But there may be even better ones that may cause you to get a lesser value because you can score it more often potentially on other players' turns. So you're going to be making these kind of I'm going to call them tactical, but they are really tableau engine building decisions. And it really is, victory comes to the person who builds the best, the smartest engine. And I've seen that time and time again. So there are cards out there. Not only do you have cards that give you credits or give you income or give you victory points, but there are other cards out there that bend and kind of play the rules. So this one, I'll just say we purchased this one right here. This particular card right here, right? When you roll the dice there, you get to charge it. And once you charge it, you can spend that and take the value of cards that are 1 or 2 over, right? So there's all kinds of little game bending effects that can also help your engine. If at some point you put this in there and you get some victory points right next to it, anytime you roll a 4, 5, and a 6, you could be getting victory points, which may all of a sudden just cause you to go into warp speed towards that finish line. So, and this will keep going on until somebody hits 40. Towards the end of the game, when people can start smelling the end of the game coming, people will start purchasing these colonies. These colonies work exactly the same way. They have a price. It's really expensive, like 27 credits, and it fits in slot 7. And here's the catcher with these space-based colonies here. I put that there. I get 9 victory points, which sounds awesome, but every time I roll a 7, it's essentially dead, right? It's not, you don't get 9 every time you roll a 7. you basically get a one-time burst of 9 points. And then every time you roll a 7 after that, you don't get anything. So it's a nice little prize to get towards the end of the game. But if you buy them too soon in the game, you are not going to be able to maneuver, is the best word, your fleet and your investments in the right way. It starts limiting you. So once you get to 40, you basically finish up the game here, and at the end of the game, you will add up whoever has the most victory points, and whoever has the most victory points is the winner. So it's pretty straightforward, pretty simple game. Very fun, very family friendly, no violence, no fighting. It's all about investing and dice rolling and kind of, in a weird way, kind of a gamble and kind of a bet. So let's move on to my final thoughts. Thank you. Okay, so there you have it. That is Space Base. That's a high-level overview. You can go out to the internet and you can find there are multiple sites out there that give you detailed playthroughs on how to play the game and run-throughs of the rules. I just wanted to give you a taste of the game. It is definitely an engine tableau building game. It's a point salad game, dice rolling. Once you get your kind of engine built up, nobody's really bored because everybody rolls the dice and everybody looks to see, hey, did what they rolled affect my particular space fleet? What do I get out of it, etc. It's not a complicated game. And it has a great rule book. There's 28 pages in this rule book. It probably could have been done in 6, but there are numerous examples of how this works, and they lay it all out in a very clean, clear way. Everything you want to know is in the rule book. There are some cards that when you read the card, you're like, wait, what does that card mean? Every single card is laid out, so you can go out there and quickly, oh, that's what that means. And once you've played it a couple times, you know exactly what the cards do. So probably on the upper end of lower complexity game, but it is one of those great fun family games. There's no fighting, there's no killing. It's about dice rolling, and when you roll the dice, you get points, and you get money, and you buy cool ships. I have heard some critique about the game that the theme is kind of plastered on. Whatever. You could say that about 50 million games. I like spaceships, I like space, and I like this game, and I think it all comes together rather nicely in a nice package. So should you get the command box? I think that's up to you. I have, when I play the game, I've introduced it to friends coming over, and they've all sat around the table, and because the core game only had 4 players, I ended up watching them play the game, and that was just not a lot of fun. But I do think 7 players is probably a bit much. But this is one of those great games that when it's not your turn, you are engaged, because anytime somebody rolls the dice, it could affect you, and you could get something out of it. So should you get the big box? I think for us, I wanted the extra couple players that came in it. The extra couple player boards, so that we had enough players for when guests came, etc. And if you have room on your shelf for such a big box, great. Then I enjoy that as well. I mean, it all fits in here. I love the card sleeves. I think this is a great game. So if it was up to me to make a recommendation, I would say go get Space Base, check it out, and then if possible, go pick up the Command Station. I think this is the first title I have seen from John D. Clare, but I am looking forward to other family-friendly games from him as well. So thank you for taking the time to watch this video. I hope you have yourself a good day, and don't forget to get lost in game.